Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a sledgehammer to a concept that I think holds a lot of people back in the tech world.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about digital sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I know that sounds like a heavy, almost political term.
It does sound a bit like a manifesto, doesn't it? A bit intense.
It really does. But in the context of the guide we're breaking down today, Mastering VPS Hosting, it's actually about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this massive shift from, renting software,
Mm.
where you're at the mercy of someone else's pricing and their terms of service,
Right.
to actually owning your infrastructure.
It's a fundamental shift in mindset.
Yes.
The source material we're looking at today frames this as an escape attempt. You are effectively breaking out of what they call the abstraction trap.
Okay, I want to circle that term immediately because it comes up a few times in the notes. The abstraction trap. It sounds like something from a sci-fi movie.
It kind of does.
But what are we actually talking about here?
So think about the modern web. We have these amazing tools that make things incredibly easy. You click a button and your app is online. But the trap is that these tools hide how things actually work.
Yeah.
It's like driving a car where the hood is welded shut. Sure, it drives fine, but if it breaks, or if you want to swap out the engine for something faster, you're stuck.
You're just a consumer.
You're just a consumer. The goal of this deep dive is to turn you into an architect.
Moving from a consumer to an architect. I like
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
according to the outline, we're going from deploying simple web apps all the way to running autonomous AI agents on hardware that you control.
Exactly. And the vehicle for this journey is the VPS, the virtual private server.
So let's look at the self-hosting advantage outlined in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to break down into 3 pillars: cost efficiency, sovereignty, and scale.
Those are the big 3. And honestly, cost efficiency is usually the gateway drug. We'll get into the numbers later, but the savings can be, well, they can be astronomical.
Right.
But sovereignty is the one that keeps people there. It's that feeling of, this is mine and no one can turn it off.
Stop renting, start owning. Okay, so let's get our hands dirty. Let's deconstruct the machine. When I hear server, I still picture a loud, dusty tower sitting in a closet somewhere with blinking lights.
Yeah, that's the old image.
But that's not really what we're talking about here, is it?
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, if you're spinning up a VPS, you are leveraging enterprise-grade hardware. The source describes these physical machines, the metal sitting in the data center, as absolute monsters. We're talking AMD EPYC processors with 64 cores
64 cores.
and 512 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM.
512 gigs of RAM is absurd. I think my laptop has 16, and I felt pretty good about that until about 5 seconds ago.
Well, your laptop is a toy compared to these things.
Yeah.
But here's the trick. You don't rent the whole monster. That would cost a fortune.
Okay.
This is where hypervisor technology comes in. Think of the hypervisor as a very strict landlord. It takes that massive physical building and slices it into perfectly isolated apartments.
And my VPS is one of those apartments.
Exactly. And critically, it behaves like a standalone house. It has its own dedicated operating system, reserved vCPU cores, and allocated RAM. It's not like shared hosting where, if your neighbor gets a viral Reddit post and a spike in traffic, your site slows down.
Right, everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah. These resources are ring-fenced just for you.
You mentioned my laptop earlier. I want to play devil's advocate here because I know listeners are thinking this. I have a MacBook Pro. It's powerful. Why can't I just run my scripts and bots on that? Why do I need to pay for a slice of a server in Virginia or Frankfurt?
You physically can run them on your laptop. But, and the source makes a huge point about this, it's about the habitat. Your laptop is operationally fragile.
Fragile how? Like if I drop it?
Well, that too. But fragile in terms of uptime and consistency. You close the lid.
My bot dies.
Your bot dies. You run out of battery at a coffee shop. Your website goes offline. Your laptop decides to restart for a macOS update at 3 in the morning.
My database corrupts.
Exactly. A VPS is engineered for 24/7, 365 uptime. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't have a battery. It just runs.
It's the difference between camping in a tent and building a bunker.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, okay. So I'm sold on the bunker. I want to provision 1.
Mm-hmm.
The guide gets specific here. It warns against going too cheap, but also against overspending on power you don't need. It recommends a KVM2 industry standard configuration.
Right. This is the sweet spot. the Goldilocks zone for getting started.
Walk us through the specs. What are we actually buying with a KVM2 setup?
So KVM2 usually gets you 2 vCPU cores. No, these are virtual cores, but they are optimized for parallel tasks. Then you get like 100 megabytes of NVMe storage, which is incredibly fast flash storage.
Yeah.
But the most important number here is the RAM. The guide insists on 8 gigabytes.
Why is 8 the magic number? Why not 4?
If you were just hosting a static blog, 4 is fine. Totally fine. But remember our mission, from web applications to autonomous AI agents.
Oh, right, the AI part.
AI scripts, especially Python-based ones, are hungry. They eat RAM for breakfast. If you try to run an LLM workflow on 4 gigs, you're likely going to hit a ceiling and the server will just crash or freeze. 8 gigabytes gives you the overhead to run the application, the database, and the AI worker simultaneously.
It's future-proofing yourself so you don't have to upgrade in a month. Okay, so we've swiped the credit card, we've bought the KVM2 instance, now we stare at the abyss.
The black screen.
The black screen with the green text.
Yeah.
The terminal. This is where most people bail. It's intimidating. The guide calls this section the keys to the kingdom. How do we get in without getting hacked?
We use a protocol called SSH Secure Shell. It's the standard way computers talk to each other securely over an insecure network. But here is the critical part, and the source material puts a giant red X over this.
Okay.
Do not use passwords.
Really? But I use passwords for everything else. My bank, my email. Why not my server?
Because your server is on the public internet. It is being scanned by automated bots millions of times a day. If you have a password, no matter how complex, it is susceptible to brute force attacks where a bot just guesses billions of combinations until it gets in.
That is not comforting. So what's the alternative?
Public and private key pairs. This is cryptographic security. Imagine you have a lock on your door that doesn't have a keyhole. It only opens if it detects a specific digital signature.
Okay, how does that setup look for the user?
So you generate a pair of keys on your laptop. You keep the private key. That's your secret. Never, ever share it. You upload the public key to the server. When you try to log in, the server sends a challenge. Your laptop uses the private key to solve it. If they match, you're in.
And if they don't?
The door doesn't even budge. It renders traditional password hacking completely useless because there is no password to guess.
So wait, even if someone guesses my username without that specific file on my laptop, they can't get in?
You are a ghost to them. They don't even know you exist.
Okay, we're in. We're secure. Now we need to let the world know we exist. The guide mentions an identity layer. This seems to be the standard web stuff domain registrars, records.
It is, but it's worth reviewing the flow because people do get tripped up here. You buy a domain, say mycoolapp.com. You go to the DNS settings and you create a record. You point that record to the IP address of your VPS. That's it.
Done.
You've connected the name to the house.
And then we have SSL, the little padlock icon.
Essential. And the guide highlights Let's Encrypt. It's a free, automated certificate authority. There is absolutely zero excuse to run an insecure site today. It just encrypts the traffic so no one can snoop on what your users are doing.
So we have the hardware, the security, and the address. Now we have to actually build something. This is where I struggle. I'm used to platforms like Vercel or Heroku. I push code, and magic happens. Why would I give that up to manage it myself?
We're back to the abstraction trap. Vercel is amazing. I use it. Lots of people use it. But it's a black box. If you want to run a background worker or a custom database or a specific version of a library that they don't support,
You hit a wall.
you hit a wall. Plus, the cost.
Ah, the Vercel tax.
It's real. They charge you for bandwidth, for build minutes, for seats. On a VPS, you pay a flat fee for the box. Whether you run 1 app or 50, the price is the same until you run out of RAM.
But the trade-off is I have to manually install everything, right? I don't want to spend my weekends typing sudo apt install for every single library.
That's the myth. That is 2010 thinking. The guide highlights the modern deployment stack. We have what's called a management layer now that sits between you and the raw operating system.
It mentions tools like Dokploy and Coolifi.
These are game changers. Think of Coolifi as an open source Vercel that you host yourself. You install it on your VPS once, and it gives you a beautiful visual dashboard. You want to deploy WordPress.
One click.
One click. You want a PostgreSQL database. One click.
So I get the GUI, the graphical user interface experience, but I own the pipes underneath.
Precisely. And it handles the automation pipeline, too. You connect your GitHub account. When you push code to your repository, Coolifi sees it, pulls it, builds it, and deploys it.
Wait. So I still get that git push workflow. I don't have to, drag and drop files.
You lose nothing. The source mentions a tool called Nixpacks build. which is fascinating. It automatically detects what language you wrote your app in Node, Python, Go, Amatom, and it figures out how to build it. You don't even have to write a configuration file most of the time.
That bridges the gap significantly. It takes the scare factor out of the command line.
It really does. You're getting the convenience of the cloud with the control of bare metal.
Let's talk about that control, specifically regarding data. We discussed cost, but the sovereignty pillar mentions data privacy. The guide takes a pretty clear shot at Google Analytics here.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, if you use Google Analytics, you are effectively feeding your users' data into Google's massive advertising machine. Plus, you're loading a heavy script that slows down your site.
So what's the alternative?
Self-hosting your analytics. Since you have the VPS, you can run a lightweight private analytics instance. You put a tiny script tag on your site. The data goes to your server. It never leaves your control.
So you own the insights.
You own the insights, and you respect your users' privacy.
That feels very aligned with where the internet is heading. People are tired of being tracked.
And from a business perspective, you aren't dealing with data sampling or hidden algorithms. You see the raw, unfiltered data.
And speaking of business, let's talk hard numbers. The source material references a specific case study on cost efficiency.
This is what usually flips the switch for people. The guide cites evidence of developers saving upwards of $700 per month.
$700 a month. That's a car payment. That's a mortgage payment in some places.
It is huge, and here's how that happens. On managed hosting, you pay for every database read, every gigabyte of bandwidth, every extra user. It scales up aggressively. On a VPS, you pay for the box. If your app goes viral, your costs stay flat until you literally max out the CPU. You stop paying that convenience markup.
Okay, I want to pivot to the part of the guide that I found most exciting. The title promises a journey from web applications to autonomous AI agents. We touched on why the laptop is a bad habitat for AI, but how do we actually do this? What's the workflow?
It's simpler than you'd think, but it requires a shift in thinking. The guide outlines a 3-step process: build, transfer, schedule.
1, build. We're doing this locally, on my own machine.
Yes, don't code on the server. Code on your laptop where you have your nice text editor and themes. You build your agent, let's say a Python script that checks crypto prices and summarizes news using GPT-4 via the OpenRouter API. You test it locally, make sure it works.
Okay. Step 2, transfer. How do we get it to the bunker?
You use SCP Secure Copy Protocol. If you can use the command line to move a file, you can use SCP. It zaps the file from your local machine to the VPS using that same SSH key we set up earlier. Super secure.
So the script is on the server, but it's just sitting there. How do we make it alive? Step 3, schedule.
This is the magic. We use a tool that has been in Linux since the 1970s called cron.
Cron, it sounds ancient.
It is ancient and it is perfect. It's a time-based job scheduler. You edit a simple file called a cron tab and you give it instructions. You say, at 9:00 a.m. every single day, run this Python script.
And it just happens.
It happens, rain or shine. Whether you are awake, asleep, or on vacation, the server looks at the clock, sees it's 9:00 a.m., and boom, fires the script.
That is the definition of a superpower. You have a digital worker that never asks for a break.
And because you have 8 GBs of RAM, you can have 10 of these workers. One scraping news, one monitoring your server health, one posting to social media. You're building a fleet.
But, and there's always a, but owning the fleet means you have to fix the fleet. The Abstraction Trap protected us from maintenance. Now we are exposed.
You are. But system health and hygiene, as the source calls it, doesn't have to be a nightmare. It really breaks down into 3 simple habits.
Okay, module 1 is security patching.
This is just eating your vegetables. Once in a while, you log in and run sudo apt update. It updates the software list and patches security holes. It takes 30 seconds.
Module 2, process management. The guide mentions PM2.
This is crucial. Scripts crash. It's a fact of life. You don't want to wake up and find out your website has been down for 8 hours because of a memory leak. PM2 is a process manager. You tell it to run your app, and if the app crashes, PM2 immediately restarts it. It keeps the lights on.
And module 3, disaster recovery. This is the one that lets me sleep at night.
Snapshots. Most VPS providers offer this for a couple of extra dollars a month. It takes a complete picture of your hard drive every week.
So if I mess up, if I accidentally RF-dash the wrong folder, I'm not dead.
You're not dead. You just roll back to last week's snapshot. It's a save point in a video game.
That connects to the final concept in the guide, the safety net. It says, fear is the enemy of learning.
I love this philosophy. When you start with a VPS, you are going to break it. You will destroy the configuration. You will lock yourself out. It's going to happen.
And that's expected.
It's required. But the safety net is the Reinstall OS button. Every provider has it. You hit that button, and in 5 minutes, the server is wiped clean and reimaged. You start fresh.
That reframes the whole experience.
Yeah.
It's not a $2,000 laptop you just brick. It's a disposable environment.
Exactly. And that freedom to experiment is what puts you on the path to DevOps mastery.
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
We've focused on the hobbyist or the solopreneur saving money, but these are real marketable skills.
Oh, they're high-value skills. If you can manage a Linux server, configure SSH keys, set up Docker containers, and manage Nginx proxying, you are doing the job of a senior systems engineer. These are the fundamentals.
Well, this isn't just about saving $700 a month.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I've seen companies burn thousands on AWS for things that could run on a $20 VPS. But yes, beyond the money, you are building transferable career skills. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they all run on these same principles. If you understand the VPS, you understand the cloud.
You stop being a passenger and start being a mechanic.
Or better yet, the architect.
I like that. So let's wrap this up. We've gone from a 64-core beast in a data center, sliced it up, secured it with keys, deployed apps with Coolifi, and scheduled AI agents with Cron. It's a pretty incredible journey for a piece of hardware that costs less than a Netflix subscription.
It really is the best value in tech. You're trading a little bit of convenience for total control and really infinite possibility.
As the conclusion says, you have moved from renting rigid platforms to owning a flexible, powerful digital asset.
You've taken back your digital sovereignty.
I want to leave our listeners with the final provocation from the source material. It's a question that kind of haunts me, in a good way.
It's the question that defines the architect mindset. Now that you have a machine that never sleeps and can run any code you want, what work will you delegate to it while you rest?
Something to think about tonight. Go spin up a server, break some things, and hit that reinstall button. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.